Greetings, YouTube. The doctor is in. Dr. Urias Papers here, coming at you with another commentary on Pathfinder 2nd Edition. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. If you like this video, hit the like button. If you have any questions or comments, please leave a question or comment. All right, we're going to do another review of a class in Pathfinder 2nd Edition. But first off, I wanted to point out something pretty important. It's this proficiency box here. You can also go to the index and look up proficiency in the back, and it will give you basically the same paragraph. But everything in Pathfinder 2nd Edition is tied to this proficiency and your level of proficiency. So you're either untrained, you're trained, expert, master, or legendary. And if you're trained, you get an extra +2, +1 for every level. If you are an expert, you get a +4, +1 per every level. If you're master, it's +6, and if you're legendary, it's +8, respectively. So being untrained gives you nothing, essentially Zippo. So that's a really important thing. Okay, now, with that in mind, we're going to switch over to the Barbarian. Now, the Barbarian is it's a typical Barbarian for one of our role-playing games, you know, Dungeons and Dragons and Pathfinder 1 and a lot of other things. The Barbarian, there's a nice picture of the Barbarian that is here in the book. The Barbarian's big thing, of course, is rage. I am going to give the Barbarian a solid B at this point, but we may change that based off of future things that come out in the game. So, key ability for the Barbarian is Strength, and then they get a lot of hit points. So it's 12 plus your Constitution modifier, and then they get these initial proficiencies. So they're experts in Perception, so there is no reason to take Uncanny Acumen, which is something that could give you a bonus or an extra training in proficiency or perception, which is what you want for initiative, because most initiatives that are rolled in Pathfinder are perception-based. You are expert in fortitude. You're trained in reflex, and you're expert in will. Now, this is a bit of a change from some of the other Barbarian builds that we've seen where they're more reflexy than will, but this one, they're an expert in will. Trained in athletics, and they're trained in a number of additional skills equal to 3 plus their intelligence modifier, and their intelligence modifier is probably not going to be that big. So it's probably going to be 3, maybe 4. They're trained in simple weapons, trained in martial weapons, and trained in unarmed strikes or unarmed attacks. They're trained in light and medium and unarmored defense. So no heavy armor. And no experts. I don't think there are any classes that actually start as experts in these. And then they're trained in the Barbarian class DC, which they have some abilities that require some saving throws and things, and it's based off of this class DC. Okay, so we go. It's the standard stuff. We get our ancestry, our initial proficiencies. You get this rage ability. So you tap into so it's an action to use your rage. Remember, there's a 3-action economy. You use 1 action to go into rage. Tap into your inner fury. You begin raging. You gain a number of temporary hit points equal to your level plus your Constitution modifier. Probably pretty important, in addition to having a high strength, to have a high Constitution. It lasts for a minute until there are no enemies you can perceive or until you fall unconscious. And you can't voluntarily stop raging. That's a difference also from a lot of other game systems. Once you start raging, you cannot stop. While you can only stop if one of these 3 things happen. While you're raging, you deal 2 additional damage with melee attacks and unarmed attacks. This additional damage is halved if your weapon or unarmed attack is agile. So that means you don't want to use light weapons. You want to use big, giant, powerful, heavy weapons. You take a -1 penalty to armor class. No one said the Barbarian ever in any game was good at armor class, so that's going to be a thing. And then you can't use actions with the concentrate trait unless they have the rage trait. So there are probably specific things, particularly like spells and things, that you can't do. after you stop raging, you lose any remaining temporary hit points, and from raging, you can't rage again for 1 minute. So one thing here, there's no like fatigue that comes from the rage. You rage for a minute, and then you just have to wait for a minute, and then you can rage again. And there's not a number of times a day that you can do it. It's just rage. So you get instinct. Your instinct gives you the ability, requires you to avoid certain behaviors, grants you increased damage and resistance at higher levels, and allows you to select feats tied to your instinct. For more information, see instincts. So these are kind of like the subclass features. When we talked about the alchemist, it was a bomber, a chirurgeon, or a mutagenicist. So that's these things now. Basically your subclass, but you get it right away. So there's instinct right there. And then at first level, and every even numbered level thereafter, you gain a barbarian feat. So you get one at first level and second level. And if you're a human that takes specific feats, you can get another one. So that's one thing the barbarians got for it, is they get lots of feats. It's very similar to the fighter. They can deny advantage at third level. They get general feats, skill increases, ability boosts, all that stuff. Everybody gets these things. Ancestry feats, brutality. So your fury makes your weapons lethal. Your proficiency ranks for simple weapons, martial weapons, and unarmored attacks increase to expert. This is at 5th level. While raging, you gain access to critical specializations for melee weapons, and so that's pretty great. That's really, really good. But again, these guys are just bags of hit points because they don't have a really great armor class. You get Juggernaut, which is proficiency in fortitude. Weapon specialization at 7th level. So your rage helps you hit harder. You deal an additional 2 damage with weapon. Mostly a lot of the martial classes get this. It isn't really anything that's tied to rage. So you deal an additional 2 damage with weapons, and the damage increases to 3 if you're a master and 4 if you're legendary. You get lightning reflexes, raging resistance at 9th level. So you gain resistance of 3 plus your constitution modifier damage based on your instinct. So that's dependent on instinct. At 11th level, you get the mighty rage. You use an action that has the rage trait. Alternately, you can increase the actions of the triggered rage to 2 instead of 2 action activity. So this ties in with some of the different abilities you have. Greater Juggernaut is for fortitude. Medium armor expertise, that comes at 13 levels, so that's pretty late. And then Weapon Fury, you get Master and with weapons, and so on and so forth. So here are the instincts. We got Animal Instinct, Dragon Instinct, Fury Instinct, Giant Instinct, Spirit Instinct. So you channel your rage through an instinct. Basically, I think it's like almost like a spirit. It could be a creature or symbol beloved by your clan. Each instinct grants an instinct ability, plus more abilities you can gain. So if we're animals, then the fury of the wild predator fills you with rage. So what happens? You get to pick, select an animal, and like an ape, it has a fist attack that does 1d10 plus 1d10 blunt, and you get grappled and unarmed. So you have an anathema, and flagrantly disrespecting the animal of your chosen kind is anathema. As is using weapons while raging. So you're using this stuff here. You get bestial rage. When you rage, you gain your chosen animal's unarmed attack, and so that's for a minute. The specific attacks gained, the damage it deals, and the traits are listed in the table. These attacks are in the brawling group. Your rage action gains the morph, primal, and transmutation, so you kind of change. Increase the damage die for the unarmed attacks granted by your chosen by 1 step, and increase the additional damage from rage from 2 to 5 for your chosen animal's unarmed attack. So this is a specialization ability, which I'm not sure when you get that. You get the instinct. Doesn't really say when that happens. I guess you get it right away. And then you resist piercing and slashing damage. Okay. Dragon Instinct. So you're transforming a little bit into a dragon. You select a dragon from the table here. So you can be any of these. And your anathema. So each one of these has an anathema. You either respect or abhor dragons. If you respect to defying a dragon, anathema. If you abhor failing to defeat a dragon is bad. Draconic Rage, which is an instinct ability. While raging, you increase the additional damage from rage from 2 to 4 and change its damage type to match that of the dragon's weapon breath of the damage for your weapon. So like if you were a black dragon, your weapon would ooze acid. And if you do this, your rage action gains the arcane and evocation traits. So you add that onto here. Okay. And we got specialization ability. When you use Draconic Rage, you increase the additional damage of rage from 4 to 8. You have greater weapon specialization, increase the additional. So they do a lot of damage. That's another thing. And then piercing and damage from a dragon's breath weapon. We got Fury. You don't have an anathema, or instead you gain an additional first level Barbarian Feat. So you actually could get, if you took Fury, you could get 3 at first level. 1 from here, 1 from the table, and then humans can get 1 too. Your specialization ability, increase the additional damage from 2 to 6. And then you got Raging. So they don't have a whole lot of extra stuff other than an extra feat. Giant Instinct. Failing to personally challenge. Strength is Anathema. Titan Mauler, you can use a weapon built for a large creature. If you're not smaller, meaning you can use a weapon built for a creature 1 size larger than you, gain access to 1 weapon size larger than you of any weapon type otherwise available. So you got to be like a big sword or a big maul or something. When wielding such a weapon in combat, increase your additional damage from 2 to 6, but you have the clumsy 1 condition because of the weapon's unwieldy size. Specialization ability, increase the damage from rage using your larger weapon from 6 to 10. I believe that that's tied to this mighty rage. Maybe not. Oh, there it is. It's under weapon specialization, so you don't get this. You don't gain the instinct specialization ability until 7th level. Okay, very good. Raging resistance is resist bludgeoning and your choice of cold, electricity, or fire. Spirit, disrespecting corpses of spirits is anathema. Defending yourself against undead creatures is not. You have the Spirit Rage ability. When you're raging, you increase your damage from 2 to 3 and deal negative or positive damage instead of normal damage. If you choose to deal negative or positive, your weapon or unarmed attacks gain the effects of Ghost Touch. And then your specialization ability, you increase your damage from 3 to 7 and then all the way up to 13. And your raging is a resist negative damage as well as damage and attacks abilities of undead creatures. Okay. So they can dish out a lot of damage, and it is all tied to these instincts. Personally, I like this Giant Instinct one. And then there's feats. So we got Acute Vision, gets Dark Vision, Moment of Clarity. Until the end of this turn, you can use actions with the concentration trait, even if those actions don't have the rage trait. Okay, so that means you can use this action and then maybe cast a spell. Rage Intimidation allows you to do some things with Intimidation. Raging Thrower, and then Sudden Charge. This is a big one. It's probably the best one, and it's the one I've seen most commonly for Barbarians, the Sudden Charge. So it's 2 attacks. You dash up to your foe and swing, so it's typically the 25 feet that everybody can move. This is stride twice, so that would be 50 feet. If you end your movement within reach of at least one enemy, you can make a melee strike against that enemy. You can use Sudden Charge while burrowing, climbing, flying, or swimming. So you can move twice and then blast them. So if you're a Giant Instinct, you could, Titan Maul them. Now it's Flourish, which means flourish actions are techniques that require too much exertion to perform a large number in a row. You can only use one action with the flourish trait per turn, which you really can only do this once anyway. So, because it's a two-action feat. Second level, you get acute sense. You can get furious finish despite desperate to finish the fight. Pour all your rage into one final blow. Make a strike. If it hits, you gain a circumstance bonus to damage equal to the number of rounds remaining in your rage. After the strike, your rage immediately ends, and you are fatigued. So this is probably like, I don't know if I would take this feat, to be honest. It's very last second. No escape. You keep pace with a retreating foe. Stride up to your speed. This is a reaction, by the way. Following the foe and keeping in reach throughout its movement. You can use no escape this is probably pretty good. Second wind, you can rage without waiting for a minute after the rage, but when you end the second rage, this is not so great. That's not so great. Shake it off. Concentrate on your rage, overcoming fear and fighting back sickness. You can reduce a frightened condition by 1 and attempt a fortitude save to get rid of a sickened condition. That's not too bad either. So probably out of these, I would take sudden charge. Probably you could do rage thrower and you could get some javelins. That's about their best ranged weapon. And maybe acute vision or raging intimidation. Definitely no escape, and shake it off wouldn't be too bad either. Then at 4th level, you can use the fast movement. Your rage is a frenzy of movement, so you get a +10. While you're raging, you get a +10 status bonus to your speed. That's big. That's a big thing, especially if you take this and combine it with sudden charge. Then all of a sudden you're moving 70 feet. Raging athlete. While you are raging, you gain a climb speed and swim equal to your land speed. That's okay. Swipe. Make a wide arcing swing. Make a single melee strike, and compare the attack roll to the ACs up to 2 foes, each of whom must be within range. So 2 attacks, and you get to hit 2 different things. Wounded rage. This is a reaction. You roar in pain and raking with the rage within you. You rage. But to be honest, most barbarians are going to go into combat with rage anyway. Animal skin. This gives you some armor class, but they're not the best at armor class, so I'm not sure this would be great. Opportunity attack. That's just a straight opportunity attack, which is nice. That's really nice. Fighters essentially get this for free, but barbarians, and this is one of the reasons why barbarians are a B and fighters are definitely an A. Because there's a lot of stuff that fighters are better than barbarians at, but eventually a barbarian would get this. Brutal bully, you push your foes around, so while raging, when you successfully disarm, grapple, shove, or trip, you deal that foe bludgeoning damage into your strength. That's okay. Cleave, a reaction. So any of these ones that are reactions are really good. I've seen reactions work really, really well in Pathfinder 2. So your melee strike kills a creature or knocks it unconscious, and another foe is adjacent. You can make a strike. So Dragon's Rage Breath. So here we have Dragon Instinct. I haven't seen too many of these prerequisites other than like Animal. So this is Animal Skin for Animal Instinct. For 4th level, not really any of them. For 2nd level, not really any. So those are the first ones. At 6th level, looks like the first ones we're getting for our instincts. So there's this one for Animal Instinct, which isn't great. And there's this one for Dragon Instinct. So you breathe deeply and exhale a powerful energy in a 30-foot cone. That's pretty cool. Or a 60-foot line, and you deal a d6 damage per level. So that's really good, actually. That's not bad. Giant Stature. You grow to incredible size. You become large, increasing your reach by 5 feet and gaining the clumsy condition till you stop raging. This is actually pretty good, too. This is good right here when it is combined with that. So that's a good thing. And then Spirit Interference. You call forth protective spirits to ward off ranged attacks until your rage ends. Anyone making a ranged attack against you must succeed at a DC 5. This is basically you're kind of being like ethereal, and they have a chance to miss you. So, I mean, I'm just going to go up to 6th level with, each of these reviews. I would say that, I mean, I'm giving them a B. They're not as good as fighters. They're almost as good as fighters, but they do have the rage ability, which does increase their damage. I think they do have a higher damage output than fighters because of the rage. Um, and, so while you're raging, you do additional damage, but you got these penalties. But then the instincts also come into effect for that too. And I like the dragon, the fury, or the giant instinct. All right, that's what I got for everybody today. I appreciate everybody tuning in, and I will catch everybody